Hey, welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And this is the place we like to gather together and we talk about all things writing for writers and by writers. And what we're going to do today is we've got a great topic. My name is Jean Wise. I'm one of the co-hosts, and I'm joined today by Bethany Jett, one of our other co-hosts. And I'm going to turn it over right away to Bethany to introduce one of our own, a very special guest that we have today, and what our topic's going to be today. So go for it, Bethany. We'll send it to you.
Okay, well, hi, everybody. My name is Bethany Jett. I'm a nonfiction author and co-owner of Serious Writer Inc., and I am extremely excited to be introducing, it's truly a privilege to introduce Victoria Duerstock, who is an award-winning author and good friend and handles so much inside of Serious Writer. She's one of the partners for the events, and she's just truly an amazing person. And I'm going to read her bio to you. It's very impressive. But I will say, like, people ask me all the time, how do you get things done? And I always think to Vicki, because that is the person who I think, how do you get it all done? She's my hero when it comes to organization and management. And you are in for a treat today with her. Talking about Twitter. Victoria enjoys speaking, teaching, and of course, writing. She has been busy growing her platform over the last couple of years and enjoys sharing the lessons she learned with others because she's living proof that that minuscule platforms can be transformed with just a few consistent steps of action and purpose. 2 years ago, she had only 53 followers on Twitter, 53, and has grown to almost 7,000 today.
Wow.
Incredible.
Wow.
She enjoys solving the mystery of social media because she knows those efforts will pay off on future books that she plans to publish. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome Victoria Duerstock today as our expert on Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you. I still don't call myself an expert, so please saddle me with that burden. I am learning from everyone that's come before me, and you guys have all, had little things that you've said along the way that I've written down, and I've said, okay, well, how can I implement this today? And so I appreciate all of the input that I've gotten, even here on Writers Chat frequently, because I write a lot of it down and I go see what I can do. And like I said, I do like to solve the mystery. For me, that's why I liked algebra. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think it's a mystery that needs to be solved, and that's how I've used social media.
Love that.
Love it.
We have a lot to cover today. There's a lot to do with Twitter, and Twitter has had rules change recently, so we wanted to make sure we covered that. And then also, for people who aren't familiar with Twitter, kind of give an overview there. So that might be a good place to start. It's just kind of maybe start at the beginning, Vicki, and then we're just going to roll. We're just going to roll. So I'm going to you to kick it off, and then we'll just jump in as needed.
Okay. Well, you interrupt me along the way as you think of things that are relevant, because, I can talk and talk and talk. That is not a thing that is difficult for me, is the speaking thing. So, so 2 years ago, really, it was in March of 2016 when I went to my first writers conference, and before attending, I did some reading. I had written a proposal that I had sent in that was a full page and a half. Yeah. Which honestly, looking back, I shake my head, but I just didn't know. I had no idea, and I was just trying new things. And I learned a lot. So my big thing is I'm going to read about it. I'm going to try to find out what people are saying. And so I read about platform and immediately was discouraged, right? Because I have been married 22 years, been raising children. We've been homeschooling. I teach piano and voice. I haven't really done this great platform building thing. If I'm on Facebook, it was because these are my elementary school friends, that I've connected with. And so the whole platform idea was this huge burden. And I didn't know really how to dig myself out of that. It felt like it was going to take an eternity. It just seemed like it was going to be something that I had to learn, but it was going to take forever to build. And 5 or 10 years down the road, maybe then finally somebody would listen to me. Right. And so it was with great discouragement to get started. And the first few tips I learned, were really, I went to Bethany's class at Blue Ridge, a couple months later, and really was like, okay, well, let me try to implement that. And Bethany's been great because you emphasize all the time to, maybe be present on all of the locations, but don't try to manage all of it at one time. And my personality is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to figure all of them out today. And I'm going to see results today. And so 2 days later, I'm usually sitting in a corner crying, wishing that, I had not made these life choices because, what has happened to me. So I try to repeat these words frequently, take a couple steps and then implement them, learn what worked and what didn't, and then go to the next thing, add the next thing. So that's really what I've done. I haven't had any groundbreaking discoveries about how Twitter works. I've just applied a lot of the information that people before me that have experienced and know what they're doing have taught me. And I've just said, okay, well, this is one thing I'm going to do today, and let's see how this works. So I think that sometimes that's our biggest thing is maybe we learn and we learn and we learn, but we never implement. And I think once we start to apply some of those tips, they really are beneficial. The problem is that all these social media platforms keep changing the algorithms and what they allow and what they don't. And so it's a constant process. It's not like you just learn, hey, these 5 great things, and now I never have to learn again.
And there's been so many changes just this year. I think since the start of this year, it's almost like, oh, do I have to start over again? So, I'm sure everybody can identify with that. That produces a lot of anxiety, I think.
Yeah, and frustration, because you finally feel like maybe you've got a handle on things, and then you're like, no, I don't. Which is part of the reason why we wanted to talk about Twitter too, because some of the advice we've given and we've received over the last few years has been, to take content and repeat it, because your audience on Twitter is always changing and they may not have seen it, and it's rapid fire. We don't always go back through people's timelines and read everything they've posted for the day or for the 2 days or for the week or the month. And so, one of these things that we've employed in order to be able to take maybe even tweets that have done well and to repeat them, Twitter's now saying, we don't want you to do that anymore.
And that's frustrating too, because among the social media platforms, you could argue that Twitter has the smallest amount of scroll time. Instagram, people will scroll for a while going through feeds, but Twitter, you've got maybe 2 thumb scrolls and you're done. Mm-hmm. And then you're on to the next thing. So yeah, this is not fun news.
No, it came across real negatively. I don't run multiple Twitter accounts, but many people do. I mean, many people have businesses that maybe they use their business name and their personal name, and they just copy and paste their tweets across both and run those. And that's another one of the no-nos that Twitter's cracking down on. They're just not being really specific about time frame. They're not being specific about, can you ever retweet something again? And it's just very ambiguous language, which is incredibly frustrating. And if we want to be on the safe side, though, it causes us to kind of think about other ways to make our message get across. So I had written an article for Medium this weekend. It was one of those times where I'm driving to soccer and I was like, oh, this is a good idea. So as soon as I got my son out the car so he could go warm up, I'm on my phone and I'm tapping with my thumbs all of my little ideas that I had. And so I was able to put it together before I had to get out on the field and loaded it up to Medium. And then I tweeted it, right? So I can't retweet that same tweet again, but I went in and I found something that I had said that I thought, well, I'll tweet it this way this time. I'll copy this information so I can still tweet about the article and still try to get eyes on it, but I have to do it in a little bit different way. So it is causing us to be a little bit more creative in the process of tweeting, because I will admit that sometimes I have been lazy in the past and rebuffered posts to fill space because I don't always have creative thoughts every day.
Yeah, and it's changed all the schedulers. I was finally getting in this habit of once a week batching my time, doing all this, pre-scheduling of certain things, which sounded, I finally was getting there doing that, and now the rug's been removed from us. So on that, Rachel wanted to know if you have increased the amount of times you've tweeted since all these changes. And how many times are you tweeting a day, would you say?
Honestly, I'm not in a rhythm yet myself. I'm still trying to find that. I am, it is frustrating because, I had a particular pattern, and I think my pattern was 6 to 7 times a day. And now, I'm like, I don't know if I have that many new things to say. So I am being more intentional about finding other people's words that I think are useful. It takes more time to do that research. I'll get on Medium and look at writing articles and things, and I'll say, okay, this is a really good one. And maybe my audience, because I have worked really hard to gather writers and readers in particular. Those are the people that I really sought when I was building Twitter. And these are the things that are consistently getting 25, 30,000 views. I can go back and I can look at my analytics, and these articles that we post about writing or scheduling and all the stuff that we're interested in, this audience on Twitter is interested in as well. And so I'm trying to curate a lot of that information, but it means if I'm going to ever retweet it again, I got to find a different way to tweet about it. So it's a little more challenging than it was. And I don't have a rhythm yet now.
Yeah, and stuff. And Rhonda asked about, would you explain what Medium is and a little bit about that?
Sure. And Medium's my next mystery I'm unlocking. Because I find it fascinating. Medium.com is a website that you can take blog posts and you can take material you've written before. You can take new material and you can create an account for yourself, and you upload your information, and you can have people that will follow you there on medium.com, and people will give you what they call claps, like if they like it, and claps mean a good thing, and the more claps you get, and you can, by the way, give away 50 claps per article. So the authors get more attention if you give away 50 than they would if you only gave them one clap. So by the way, go ahead and clap for people more than once. But the claps mean, hey, this is an interesting article. We think this is useful. And sometimes these articles get put in front of editors of sub-publications on Medium called the Startup. There's the Mission. There's some other different things that are even writing cooperative. There are different sub-genres under Medium. And if one of those articles gets a little bit of attention, they can ask you if they can post it over there. And then the eyeballs get much, much larger. There's also a section of Medium where you can be a paid person to write. So if you get enough traffic coming and looking at what you're writing, they will pay you, and it's based on your views, how many people read all the way to the end, if you got a lot of claps, the engagement, basically. So Medium is one of those things where I'm very intrigued by how it works. I want to unlock that mystery of what will work.
And you're also using it for content curation. It sounds like you go over and find an article that your readers like, and that turns around and helps that author too. So it's really, there's a lot of good going on with that. I never thought about it. I've posted my blog posts over there, so I've been just minimally active with Medium, but I have not done anything I never thought about content curation. And is there, and Rachel asked, and I thought that I was going to ask that too, but is there a Christian presence there? Is there a place there? There's a faith-based group?
And
okay.
Really, you can use up to 5 tags to tag what you're speaking about. So there's inspiration, there's advice, then there is a lot of faith-based bloggers that are finding Medium now. They're kind of trickling over and using it as another way. You can link out, you can link in. It's really great, especially for the people that know a lot about SEO, a lot more than I do. These are great things, right, Bethany? I mean, you talk about that all the time. We want to link out to other articles and link back to websites.
Yeah, and Medium is a great place for this. We've talked about in here before about a guy named Benjamin Hardy, who was a case study about email newsletters. But he is the #1 person in his category on Medium because he did the same thing. He figured it out. And then he used his bio line very specifically with one link to get his opt-in, which Vicki also teaches on opt-ins too. And so Medium is the next frontier.
And I'm going to figure it out.
Okay. And then we'll do a writer's chat and all the tricks. We want the 10 top tricks. Use Medium as a writer or something like that,
The neat thing about getting a following over there, I really thought that it was going to be kind of challenging because I don't really know people that are over there. But the thing that happens is people will start to follow you and you kind of follow them back. It's a very reciprocal kind of environment, especially as a writer. You can find a lot of other writers. I've tweeted some articles, and the person was on Twitter and would answer me back, thanks for sharing this. And we've had a conversation. So these things all help, get your exposure out there. And it's real engagement. And I think, at the end of the day, that's what Twitter's mostly trying to build is more real life conversations versus just throwing, you know, your stuff out there and hoping somebody looks at it one day.
And I'm finding this discussion we're having today encouraging, because when we talk about social media and platform building, like we originally said, it's so overwhelming. But yet your example here of Medium and how you are just starting to, you learned a little bit about it more, and now you want to explore it a little bit more, is a wonderful model for us, really, on how to get involved in Twitter or Medium or wherever the next frontier, as Bethany said.
Yeah. And it kind of gives us another way to put content out there. I love that they will let me take maybe some of my old blog posts and kind of put those over. There's no restrictions on that, which is nice. It's another audience that maybe would never travel to any of my websites to read my material. Yeah. And so it's just another opportunity to use even same content I've already created and get maybe get some more traction out of it again. I may adjust some of the wording, but you know, I don't have to rewrite everything every day. It also makes me create more content on a more frequent basis, because a lot of the experts are saying that you almost have to be daily or regularly posting on Medium in order to be able to develop the following. So it's kind of forcing me to you know, think through, like, what kind of topics do I want to write about? You know, do I alternate them? You know, how is that going to work?
Yeah. And there's not a scheduler for Medium per se. You have to actually go to medium.com, don't you? I've not seen a scheduler.
I haven't either.
On that. Okay. On that. And once you post your article, and we're getting off our topic here, but I'm going to bring us back to Twitter here. Is there a way then you could tweet that article from Medium?
Yes. You can tweet, you can Facebook. They have the buttons right off to the side. You can connect your account to your profile. So your Twitter and your Facebook are connected, and all you're doing is you're clicking on those buttons. It creates the stuff for you and you send it. So it's really very easy. And Medium actually has a buffer button, and I use Buffer. I had to laugh Saturday when Bethany was talking about schedulers, because she's like, we all have our individual ones that we like. Yeah, some of us are more stubborn than others and use the one that we like most. But for me, Buffer pops up at the bottom. I can either tweet or I can buffer it. But for me on Medium, you know, I want to buffer a lot of my stuff and schedule it out instead of tweeting it right away. So
okay, great. What else have you learned about Twitter? Tell us about Twitter.
Tweeting.
Yes, tweeting. So
we're getting a lot of static. Who are we getting static from? You guys hear that?
I'm not sure who it is.
I'll go muted, see if it's me. Go. It stopped. All right.
All right. For it. Okay, well, Bethany, we should probably talk about the fact that, you know, we can't retweet those existing tweets again, but how to just like be creative about processing different hashtags or different memes, different pictures. You know, we could put different pictures with some of our blog posts and things that we're posting. Just being creative in that process, because you can't, you know, we talked about two ways, right? You can't across two of our same Twitter accounts, or 3 or 4, however many we have, we can't copy and paste, but we also can't repost that content. And it doesn't say, there's no timeline. It doesn't, because you can't repost. And so to me, that means ever.
I have a gut level feeling that clarification is going to emerge sometime in the next, I don't know, I hope less than a year, but let's say in a couple months, that they're going to come up and say it's got to be 8 weeks between it, or 6 weeks, or something like that. And that, my question on how you repurposing the content, can it be the same link? Like, say I'm linking back to a blog post of mine, and I take point 1 as a tweet it out. Can I do point 2 from the blog post with the same link? Is that going to violate their rules?
I mean, based on the way it's worded, no, because it's saying you cannot, it does say the word similar, but I don't think that's similar. I think you're retweeting a different quote, you're retweeting a different portion of it. It is linking to your article, but I don't know how else you're going to do that. I mean, I don't know how else you're going to link back to a website article without sending the link again.
Yeah.
One of the schedulers that I get emails from is actually creating a new subsystem within their scheduler, and they are creating a way for the scheduler to retweet yourself. So like we run the Almost an Author and Serious Writer ones. So I can put out Serious Writer tweets that I can retweet from I can like retweet Almost an Author just like you would anybody. So this one scheduler is doing that to where it will retweet you to where that way your content starts going out. But I haven't seen that come out on the ones that I'm currently using. I haven't seen anybody else do that, but I did see a notification that I think we'll see some schedulers getting creative with.
I think so too. And they're scrambling right now. And I think that'll put some pressure on the Twitter too, to maybe define some of this a little bit better, from the software developers side. Mm-hmm. Somebody wanted to know what scheduler you were referring to. Do you know right off which one you were talking about? Bethany?
Yeah.
Bethany.
I don't want to say if I'm wrong. So just disclaimer, I think it was SmarterQ that's doing this. I think that's where I saw it. But I get emails from Agorapulse, which I like, but I'm not using. I used SmarterQ for a while, and now I'm back to Meet Edgar.
Okay.
And it was not Meet Edgar, so I think it was SmarterQ. But
SmarterQ. And what happens if you break the rules? I love how Rhonda put it. Do they send out the birdie cops? I love how she said that.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say what the consequences of violating their rules are. But in the past, if they haven't liked somebody's content or they've decided to do things, they can ban people. They can close the account. They can mute you for a little while and then unmute you later. There are things that they can do without really explaining it because it's their platform and they can do what they want.
Yeah. So who knows what they're going to do?
The wording is very nebulous. It does not say. And we know that the point of it is not to shut authors and writers down. The problem has been that there are bots that are repeating things. They are making hashtags trend based on, all this automated action that's happening that's false, so people think things are going viral and they're really not. And, it's the problem with America today. It's just not real. So that's their perspective. But I think that when they were viewing it that way, they weren't realizing all the other, there's businesses that are trying to tweet about their product. And if you can only say something about it once, how's that helpful? That's going to drive people away from Twitter, really, because if you can't use it, multiple times, I don't think it's effective anymore.
I agree. And would you talk a little bit about schedulers? Norma asked, what is a scheduler? Can you give it a little bit of a background on that?
And Beth taught a great class on this on Saturday. Bethany, you want to tell what a scheduler is?
Sure. A scheduler is a third-party platform that connects to various social media accounts. So usually Facebook and Twitter are in all of them. Some of them have API connection, and API is what each platform, it's like their secret code, and it connects to your Facebook or to your Twitter. MailChimp has API. Some of them have Instagram API where you can schedule your Instagram, and then you also have to hit publish on it when it's time to go. That's really helpful. And it's just a way for you to be able to put like evergreen content or like blog posts and things in there, or you can pre-schedule things. I think it frees you up to be authentic in the moment because you already have content going. You're not every day trying to figure out what you're going to post that day. You get to be real with people and do more engagement. So I think schedulers are very helpful.
Yeah. And like Jean, you were saying, that allows you the opportunity to schedule like once a week or even, once a month. If you're really, really on top of things, you could schedule out everything that you're going to say. And that takes that burden of trying to come up with new stuff every day off.
And I think you still need to be live there, like Bethany said, for the engagement, but it takes part of that off your shoulders as a writer. A lot of times I'll sit down, on a Friday afternoon or Friday evening and put something on the television and go to Post Planner or one of the schedulers and just get stuff done for the next week, and so at least I'm present part of the time. And then I try to hop on live too, and a lot of those. It helps
plan kind of purposefully, like what you want to say for the week or for whatever time period you're going to say. Because I know if I'm trying to like build my content every morning, I'm like, okay, what haven't I said yet? And it feels kind of pressured, or I don't have time to do this. When, if we spend some time just in a chunk and plan out a bunch, it seems like it works a lot better.
Tina asked a couple questions over here, and she said she was posting episodes of a story with the same title. And so does she need to change the title each week, or will just the different episode numbers be enough to tell a difference? I'm not sure if we probably know the answer to that even. And then does she actually need to remove that as an automatic sharing to Twitter then? So what did you advise, you guys, experts?
Vicky and I were talking about this, like, what does the word similar mean? And because it's, the conclusion we came to was Twitter is automating this system of removing the tweets that are similar. So it's not, we don't have a human brain probably looking at it and saying, okay, this content is okay because she's just sharing this with a few changes. And similar is so nebulous. So we're being very careful about how close the text is in case it pops up as too much of a duplicate. Like for, academic papers, they submit it to like a Turnitin, and they tell you how much percentage of the paper is someone else's. That's probably a similar thing that they're running through Twitter, is my guess, because we don't know. So I would be real careful about the verbiage being the same or even close.
Yeah. And then again, we're not the target either. So that helps a little bit, but we got to follow the rules if we want to keep these accounts. Yeah.
In with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that you can do if you're trying to link things together really is have a hashtag for it, right? So you could have multiple tweets that are worded differently, but if you had a hashtag that kind of linked them all together, that might be a way where you can kind of get around that too. And that was something Bethany and I have talked about a lot lately, is starting to employ some of these writers chats that are happening on Twitter based on hashtags. There's really successful conversations out there, and groups that are, maybe they set up a particular time, Mondays at, 10 o'clock at night. And for 30 minutes, there's a few questions and answers, and, you get to hop in and you just use a particular hashtag to go with it. And, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to participate in. Yeah. I'm in a writer's mom group that, they are all on the West Coast, so they meet at a later time. So I'm not always in there. Tired, I'm going to bed. But they have a hashtag, and they use that, and they have, you do Q1 or A1 for your question or answer, and then you give the answer, and then you can kind of see what everybody's answers are. And it's interesting. You get to learn a lot about new people. You get to, again, it's real engagement. So I think, we talk about this a lot, but the whole point of the social media is not just to be, busy with one more thing. It's actually engaging with real people that exist out there that, want to get to know us, and we want to get to know them, and find common interests. So that happens when you're having a conversation. And if you're not actually in real life, this is a great way to have a conversation. Even yesterday, I took a screenshot of some conversations that were happening yesterday for writers. You guys might like this. I thought this was really fun. I never participated. I was going to, and then I ran out of time. And so next Monday, I'll be ready. But on Mondays, you have hashtag Murder Monday. You have hashtag Martial Monday, like martial law or martial art. Hashtag Love Lines. Hashtag Miss Muse Me. Muse Monday, Mood Monday, and Monday Sense. So there was like this graphic went out from this main site, and they said, okay, all these hashtags are going to be, used today. Different people were in charge of whether there needed to be a writing prompt, or if everybody just kind of took their work in progress and then they just put the hashtag with it. But there was a lot of conversations on a lot of those. And of course, I loved the Murder Monday, so I was checking that one out and looking at again, mystery. Mystery. I like to figure it out. I want to know what it is. So, I checked it out, and people comment back, like you write a little, whether it's a fresh story or if it's a line, people are commenting back and giving you feedback, and this is how you get people interested in the things you're writing. It's really a win-win.
Wow. The question in the chat, and I never thought about this, and I think that's interesting, is you can't repeat, is it only text, or what about the photos? Like I use a photo on my blog, and I change the text, and I use the same photo in the blog. Is that going to be targeted? Do you think it's a repeat, or can you change photos?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say. So I'm trying to change everything right now because I don't want to step across the line. So I may be being more cautious than I need to be, but I also don't want to lose. I don't want to ruin a good thing. I've made progress, and I want to take steps backwards. So I'm trying to be more creative about, those pictures I choose. And like Bethany said, if it's a bot that's looking at it and it's the same picture, the bot's likely to say, that's too similar or the same.
Okay. Give me a definition of a bot. B-O-T, correct?
Yes.
I've seen that term. I'm sure I'm not the only one here today that's not 100% sure what a bot is. So can you guys talk about that a little bit?
It's like a robot. It's like,
okay.
So it's just, it's basically, I guess, like a program that runs in the background. And so it's, we call bots all kinds of, like, there's bots for all kinds of things. Like when you search for Google, there's bots that are scrolling all the different websites to give you like which ones need to be on the top page, but it all happens like really fast. So It's just the way that they're automating. They're probably just looking for duplicate content and then pinging those. So it's not a person going through them. And so you don't have that intellectual side of it. You have this is percentage was too similar. And this is just what we think. Like, Twitter has not said this since we're on the record, but this is just what we're guessing is happening.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence has made great strides. They're using bots now for chats. Okay. So you might chat online with a customer service person and you're not actually talking to a person. You're talking to artificial intelligence. It's the latest kind of wave that's taking over, but it's being used in a lot of applications. And so, it makes sense that that's kind of how they're probably doing things, but, we don't know. And so, again, I try to stay as far away from, violating a rule and losing out on, on my conversations and my engagement with the people that I've, gathered over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, when you call them robots, which probably was the origin of that word, that does explain a lot on that way. Tina added that she wonders if we could take some of the original pictures and add different filters to them so they look a little different. That's a creative approach, I think, to it. You change them a little bit. It's like changing the text. I guess the question is we don't know how much change we have to do.
That's right. Yeah, it would be great if they would clarify the wording, because Bethany and I both poured over it. I wrote a blog post a couple weeks ago for Serious Writer about what the changes were, and we poured over everything we could find. We copied the actual text from Twitter, and it's like she said, very nebulous. It's not super clear. It'd be really helpful unless they don't want us to be on there to really be specific about what we need to change.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bethany.
I will tell you that we're running the Right to Publish Twitter right now, and then I run the Serious Writer one. And what I've been doing is I've actually had to scale back on the amount of tweets that I'm actually tweeting out for us because I don't want to run out of our content. But it actually has added a lot more time to managing the Twitter feeds. But what I have started doing is making sure I have at least one tweet going out in the morning that's ours, and then throughout the day trying to get on Twitter through the phone app. But then I'm retweeting a lot more people now because that adds content into our wall and then gets us seen more often. But I'm being more careful now about who I'm retweeting as well. Like before, I might just retweet, a fan, but now I'm looking for people who actually have great content that's going to matter, because that's a faster click to retweet than start putting their stuff into the scheduler at this point.
Yeah.
As we're trying to figure this out. So I think we are going to see an increase of great content, which was the point of all of this as we're moving forward.
Yeah. So what would you tell a new user? Norma made the comment in the chat that she hasn't really been on Twitter before. Is this a good time to start? And where would she start? Maybe give a few tips on that.
Well, yes, now is a great time to start, especially if you are looking to build platform, then it's a great time to start, because yesterday might have been a little better, but tomorrow's too late. So go for it today. There's no time like the present. Where would I start? I would find people that I was interested in following, like maybe the group, the writers chat group. I would look for all of us on there and start to follow. And I would just start there, because if you can find people that are interesting or have similar likes, they're going to have content that you're interested in, first of all, and secondly, that you might be able to retweet or link back to, and kind of start from there. Using hashtags is a great thing. There's even Twitter posted this the other day, and I rebuffered their thing that they encourage us to use the hashtags, especially the ones for the days of the week. And you can find those when you're doing a search. You can just put in your hashtag, and you can put in Monday and see what else kind of comes up after it. And so the days of the week are the easiest ones to kind of, get going with. Think about, something you want to say on a Monday. And if you're a faith-based writer, then, you want to share a verse or something that means something to you. If you're trying to, be very general market, you could even use you can use quotes. You can really just something that means a lot to you, or a picture, a meme that you find. A lot of times it's, Bethany and I love the GIFs. We think it's super fun to get on there and put the little animated responses. And a lot of times these Twitter chats use those, right? So they'll say, well, what kind of day are you having? And you can just pick either one of these really crazy looking things that things are going crazy, or you can pick it's a great day. I signed my contract today, or whatever, and so the gifts give you another way of communicating, ideas with people in a fun way. And I think really trying to keep it fun, we don't put a lot of pressure on yourself when you're first getting started. You got to, I talked about this weekend with social media pods and loops. I kind of sat for a while and just observed. I didn't jump in too far right away. And the same thing was true with Twitter. I had those 53 followers, but they were like family. So just starting, from the beginning takes a little time.
Yeah. And how would you suggest, because you build up fairly rapidly, it seems like, can you, Pat, give a couple of those tips to Norma or anybody else who's trying to build their Twitter following?
Yes. The hashtags are a big part of it. And I teach a class on this, which is really good because now I can't forget what I say. That's hilarious. I know that follow people who have interests like you do, and then follow their followers. So let's say I follow Jean, and I like her content. Well, I'm going to look at the people that follow Jean, because there may be people that are similar to her that would maybe be interested in my things too, and that I would also be interested in. I don't just follow anybody because I want to make sure that there are people I'm genuinely interested in and I would want to have a conversation with.
Yeah. And Tina asked a while back up at the chat, so I maybe some other, I see I have 14 new messages, so I haven't followed that she actually received an email inviting her to pay $99 a month to let Twitter extend their reach of her posts.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if she says later on, I haven't read all the chat, if she says where that email came from, but whether it came from Twitter or it came from a third party or something like that. Isn't that interested in this reaction? We're in a reactive mode right now to these new rules that
I've heard a lot of people say they think maybe that was part of their intention too, was maybe they want some more ad revenue. And so the best way for you to get your one tweet that you tweeted seen more often is to pay for ads or advertising, or if there's, this monthly subscription to get your stuff out there. That makes sense.
Bethany, you added something. Were you on that website?
I pulled a link. So from TechCrunch, there's if you Google Twitter $99, it'll pop up with a bunch of people. I put TechCrunch, they're a great website to find out what's going on. But just skimming through the article on that, apparently you don't get to choose which tweets get promoted. Twitter chooses that for you, but it's all of your tweets that you're putting out there. It'll just take some of them and promote them. So I think before you do that, you have to make sure that Twitter is your audience is definitely following you there and really wants to see what you're putting out there.
And that's expensive.
They needed to do something though. I mean, Twitter has had a problem. I mean, over the last couple of years, I know Vicki and I have talked about this too, the different social media platforms, especially as Facebook, bought Instagram a few years ago, and now Twitter is the third, but now alone. And, they had a problem. So this is their reaction to fixing that. And it makes total sense that they're monetizing from this. Yeah. They needed to do something.
I'm writing notes down from the chat for my own use here.
Yeah, I'm definitely saving it when we're done.
Yeah, I'm taking this chat.
Yeah, because it's got some good resources on it and stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I know, Rachel Smoyer, she's always on 5 a.m. writers. There's a whole group of people that when they get up in the morning and they write, they hashtag 5 a.m. writers, and that's been really successful. I've seen a lot of engagement on her posts, with that. And 5 a.m. Writers Club. And I've seen a lot of engagement, happening on that. They talk to each other and say, yeah, another cup of coffee, or whatever. And I think that's a great way to just build a community of people that, are similar to you and are doing the same thing. I am up at 5 a.m., Rachel, but I'm not ready to do any writing.
I'm exercising at that time, listening to podcasts at 5 a.m. So
I am drinking coffee quietly.
Maybe go into what I was going to ask is go in a little bit about hashtags, maybe some tips on hashtags. There was some chat in the chat room about that. And most people that use them say they are quite powerful. Chance to Connect is a great one, a hashtag to use. People connect, authors and writers connect. I love the daily Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You've got Monday motivation and Tuesday thoughts and Wednesday wisdom, Thursday thoughts, and Friday feeling. Those are really popular ones. There are variations on those, but some of those are pretty popular, and they start to trend, and you can maybe find yourself in with some new people that you wouldn't have met before. But and then using them in Twitter chats is really helpful. There's a work in progress chat, and there's a main character chat. So if you want to talk about your main character in a short amount of time, you can describe your main character. And sometimes people will throw out questions, tell us this about your main character, and you can respond. It's a great way to kind of even think through, how you would explain your main character to someone else. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. You're sharing about yourself, but you're also having to think a little deeper about, how would you describe your main character, trait, how they would react to this particular situation or whatever. But I think hashtags are kind of key to being able to get more people to view what you're writing beyond just, the followers that follow you. This gets you more exposure with just a general audience. And then you build your numbers from there. So it sounds like an essential practice. Go ahead, Bethany.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that because it's so good. And one thing you want to do with hashtags is you want to, you can start researching them to figure out what are going to be the main ones, because people are asking in the chat here too. But once you find people who are using them consistently, see what other hashtags they're using, because the majority of the time, groups have hashtags that you would never think you would never come up with the hashtag on your own. And then once you kind of know that inner circle hashtag, then you can spend some time researching and seeing which hashtags are connected to other things too. And Twitter is a little bit, I think, harder to do this. Instagram's easy because people will put 30. So you can just get a whole group, but people only use 1, 2, maybe 3 on Twitter per tweet. So you're going to have to spend some time going through that. But it's just so funny. You'll see hashtags, you have no idea what they mean. But there's this whole group that looks for them and follows each other based on that.
And, for me, the am writing, the hashtag am writing, I even used a lot of hashtag am caffeinating because I love coffee. And of course, a lot of writers are coffee drinkers. And that's really, a big group of my initial followers all came through because of coffee, because of writing. And I use those hashtags almost all the time. Everything because am writing applies to a lot of things. I've done am blogging, am reading, but consistently, especially if you're using am writing, you can see your tweets really get exposure to 25, 30,000 people, which is way greater than your reach maybe.
Wow. And so it sounds like it's almost better, especially if you're starting to join already existing hashtags, but you can be creative. Like you said, AM caffeinated. You can be creative and almost start your own, huh?
Yes, you can definitely start your own. You just may not get a lot of people to join.
Yeah. Got it. And just to clarify, because I've seen this in some of the chat, and Bethany just mentioned, hashtags are powerful on Instagram also, but I don't think they're as used on something like Facebook.
I think people use them on Facebook. I know for conferences, we'll use a hashtag on Facebook so that you can like if you want to see all the pictures that people took, it's the one way to be able to find all of that information from people that you're not friends with there. And sometimes on Facebook, I will use it like as like a sarcastically, I'll run a sentence together with a hashtag just to kind of make it as like an aside, since you can't italicize. But yeah, you can use them on Facebook, but it's not the same as Twitter or Instagram. I mean, even sports events, there's always a hashtag. You'll see ESPN will have an official Twitter hashtag or, things, and it's TV and sporting events and the Golden Globes. I mean, people are live tweeting and interacting. So if there's an event that you're watching on TV, there's probably a live Twitter stream happening with a hashtag. And that's a fun way just to interact with other people who have same interests as you and gain new followers that way too.
Yeah, I've even done it when my son's Xbox goes down and he's in the middle of trying to play a game and I've spent an hour trying to figure out why it's not working. I'll get on Twitter and I'll do hashtag Xbox problems or whatever, and I'll find out, oh yeah, it's actually everybody has a problem. About it.
So crazy. I would like what Rebecca said in the chat, a hashtag, Facebook hashtags are usually sarcastic. That's her hashtag. Yeah.
LinkedIn is even using hashtags now. Every time I get posting something on LinkedIn, they ask me for a hashtag and I'm like, I got to think about this now. So I don't know if they're, because we've talked about the fact that Twitter hashtags and Instagram hashtags are not equal. You don't want to use the same ones on both platforms because they don't attract the same audience. So now I'm like, okay, do I have to overthink LinkedIn? Is it going to be more Twitter? Mystery I have not worked on yet.
Yeah. And I think Norma had a good question about, do you have to worry about using the wording similar to another person? Like I do AM caffeine instead of AM caffeinated. Is there some sort of copyright thing? I've not heard anything like that, but is there?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
All right. Until they write a new similar rule, we're all right on that way. It's still overwhelming though. So do you have some final tips? We got about 10 minutes left here. Some things you really want to share with us, or Bethany, you want to jump in on Twitter? Because it's somebody wrote that Rhonda wrote her brain hurts. And I think after a while it's like,
Sure. I mean, I think that I go back to how I started off. I'm guilty. When I work on a project, I jump both feet in and I work till I'm like sick of it and I don't understand and don't know what my life choices are. The thing is I think you take a couple of things and you say, okay, today I'm going to try this. I'm going to try maybe these daily hashtags and just see if I post, 2 or 3 tweets today and I use Monday motivation, what will happen? And then kind of take a step back and don't try to implement everything at one time. I mean, you've got lives and you're not going to sit on Twitter all day. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that, think about the fact that, if you're standing in line at a grocery store, you're waiting at a soccer game for practice to get over, you can easily go on and see who has followed you. And if you want to follow them back, it's an easy, quick click to even retweet. Like Bethany said, find some people to retweet, and then you're not coming up with something new and you're not doing a lot of typing on your phone, but it's very accessible in a variety of places. You don't have to say, okay, each morning I'm going to have an hour where I set up my tweets. You don't have to be that aggressive about it, and just, try to have some fun. I mean, there's a lot of really great people out there that you would never meet in real life that you get a chance to converse with.
Yeah. Is there a place where we could find popular hashtags? Melissa asked that question.
Yeah, I mean, we've put them in different places on the blogs. I mean, they're all over the place. Like I said, I teach a course about it. Our blog posts talk about popular hashtags and which ones to use. So yeah, there's lots of resources out there. And then, a lot of it's my research. I just get in there and type a hashtag and type a word and see what comes after it and try different orders. Once you look at them a few times, you start to kind of realize how they kind of came to be.
That sounds good.
There's websites too that'll tell you how many times it's used, or use this one instead of that one, where it just pulls all the data. But then even some of them will I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but it'll tell you in the last hour this one has been used this many times, and so then you can look at the competition rate versus different ones. So yeah, if you just Google.
Well, even on Twitter, you've got your trending hashtags, and there may be World Read Aloud Day. I used that one not too long ago. I mean, I hit over 200,000 retweets on that because I used that with a meme that I had created, but it was World Read Aloud Day. I used a quote, and because it was that day, I created that for that, and then it went crazy. So
Wow.
I look at those trending tweets even on Twitter, hashtags on Twitter.
On that. Okay. And anything else new and updated that we need to know that maybe some of the pros in the chat room need to know? What do you have, Bethany?
I have one tip. We don't talk about it a whole lot, but there is a search engine on Twitter. And so you can use the search bar in the very top of Twitter, which is like if you're looking up hashtags or looking up someone's name. But you can actually go to search.twitter.com, and it's going to pull up a whole page dedicated to their search engine. And you can do like an advanced, their little advanced button at the bottom where you can open it up. But this is a good place to search conversations. And so the example that whoever taught me, I can't remember who it was, but they were, it was Mark somebody who's a Twitter expert over in England. He's incredible. And he was saying that you want to type in there a conversational tone, how somebody would be writing a tweet on Twitter. So you're not typing in like hotel to stay at would be what you would put in Google, hotels in England. But someone on Twitter might be writing, I need a place to stay in Liverpool, not the word hotel. And so you need to think about like how people write. But you can put keywords in there and it'll pop up everyone who's talking about that or using that language. Well, that gives you an opportunity then to go in and join their conversation, especially if it's recent, and say, okay, well, here's some ideas. Oh, I stayed there. Or here's a link to hotels.com where it gives you the rates. So all of a sudden you're becoming an expert to people without shoving them to your website. You're just kind of giving them helpful information. And that can lead to that's a good relationship builder too. And if you're looking for people, in your genre, it can help.
Wow. I had heard of that a long time ago, but have not forgot about it, to be all honest.
Yeah.
So how have you guys used that as writers? Can you give us a writing example?
I haven't used it for writing. I've used it in, I don't use it as often as I should, but if I'm wanting to just spend some time engaging on Twitter, depending on whatever, like if it's like a mom boss kind of thing, I might try to put in some words about like, kids are driving me crazy, or, something that someone would say, and then just see if there's a way to like add a GIF or like, oh, I have voice too. And it's really just about joining conversations and a way to find those conversations with people you don't know.
Okay. That's a great tip. Great tip. The last couple minutes, Vicki, got a final tip for us before we invite people back on? See if they have any questions.
Yeah, it's just have fun in the process. I mean, if so many people are like, this is just overwhelming, or I don't like it. I don't like that I have to do it. I'd rather just sit down and write. And I get that. As creators, it's a lot more fun. So it's just, view it as a different part of that creative process. I view any of that social media stuff I have to figure out as an obstacle that I need to overcome so that I can get my stuff out in the world. And if that's the case, then I'm going to figure out the best way to overcome it as quickly as possible. But just, have fun, enjoy the process, enjoy learning something new that maybe you wouldn't have picked up otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bethany, I don't know if you could see the line. Could you screen share the search at twitter.com?
Oh yeah, I can
do that real quick and shows how that looks like. And we got enough time here. We can do that.
I did want to share a mistake that you can make with schedulers, which is a mistake that I have made over the last 4 days. You want to look at I'm pulling it up right now. Okay. You want to look at your Twitter. You want to go to your profile and look at what your Twitter wall looks like, because if somebody's going to follow you, the first thing I do is I go to their wall and see what kind of tweets they're posting, even if it's the first 5 or 6, to see if there's somebody I'm going to want to follow. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just follow. But I've been changing my scheduler around because of all these new rules. Well, the only thing that I've been tweeting is the RSS feed from entrepreneur.com. And because I forgot to add anything else in there while I was traveling, the last 15 posts are all from Entrepreneur. So that's just ridiculous. So I was telling Vicki, I'm like, just made this big mistake. So you got to make sure that you're also then looking at your feed, at least scrolling maybe 1 or 2 swipes down to see, are you giving a lot of varying content? Yeah, I love entrepreneur.com, but it's not the only thing I want to talk about. So that's on my list today, is to fix the way my wall is going and start separating those out a little bit.
Okay.
Let me share my screen.
And you can do the search on the app on your phone too. So
can you? Okay.
Mobile as well as online.
Here we go.
So here is, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
So this is search.twitter.com. And then
It's showing trends down there. Yeah, I saw it was National Siblings Day. Then I'll see that we could do something with writers on that one.
Yep.
My internet's going pretty slow. I wanted you to see what it looks like when you click advanced search. So here you can have phrases. You can make sure that certain words aren't in there. You can put hashtags in there, languages, and then it just gives you a lot. And the date one is actually great. So you're not just pulling up a lot of content that people aren't talking about anymore. But this is just a way to, I don't know, search.twitter.com is like a best kept secret because you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. But it's if you want engagement and you want to find like, great people to follow, this is a really great way to do that.
Great. If you go back, here you go. Thank you for doing that and stuff. Why don't we've got just a few minutes here left. Why don't we invite everybody back on to see if they've got any final questions in just the last few minutes we have. If you are new with this today as you pop on, just a couple of things is if we've taken you off video, please put in the chat that you can't get back on. If you can't get back on, let us know because there's a way we release you from non-video cage. So if you can't get out in that way, and those of you that are relatively new here, usually when we quit recording, we do stay on for an after party. So we just chit chat for a little bit. So you're more than welcome to stay on 10, 15 minutes after we finish videotaping here. So put in the chat if you're having trouble coming back on. If not, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask Vicki. We got this expert. Go ahead and ask Vicki. Mary. I'll help you, Mary. I see Mary. Okay. Mary's on. Okay. On that. Anybody else have questions? Jenny. And pop up. Somebody asked just about, who just asked a question about Instagram over there. Rebecca, did you have a question? Yeah, why don't you ask that?
He said there's not an advanced search, but there's just the Explorer, right?
They have like other options. You can't do like search.instagram.com. But there's other ways to do advanced searches in Instagram.
Yeah. So everybody back on that wants to get on, let us know if we need to help you on stuff. So Vicki, are you still growing in your followers, or have you noticed this change has hurt?
That's a great question. Because I have a particular goal I'm trying to reach by the end of the year. So I wanted to reach 5,000 by the end of the year last year, and I did. And so this year I want to reach 10,000. So those are my goals. And right now I'm super close to 7,000, but I'm not there yet, which means I'm off track. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason for that is because over the last couple of months, I've really been diving into figuring out how to grow my Instagram. And so.
Okay. So it's not Twitter's fault.
It could be. No. I would like to blame someone else other than myself, but I do know that when my focus shifted, the numbers weren't quite as high because I do keep track of my numbers almost daily. Close. But I like to see, what that consistent number of growth is. And I have noticed that it's not as strong as it was when I was like, okay, I'm going to hit 5,000 or else, when I was really pushing hard for that growth. So, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to get that 10,000 if it kills me. But I just think it's where my focus tends to be. Once I'm looking at another thing, and of course now I'm looking at Medium, and so I know my attention when it shifts tends to mean that I'm not paying as much attention to trying to will that to grow as fast as it was.
I think there's a real interest in Medium too, so we'll have to remember that as a writers chat group. And Vicki, kind of keep us in the loop as you explore it more too. And sure. And I know I'm on it, so you've kind of inspired me to get to know more too. So maybe we can do a show on Medium a little bit more.
That'd be awesome. Because I'm learning. I don't know all the ins and outs yet. I've that one person I told you tweeted me back after I reposted his Medium post. He actually had created a 5-day course on how to get promoted in Medium. And so he started sending me his email letters, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So there are people that are really doing a lot with Medium right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to see what I can do to figure it out.
That sounds great. Well, thank you, Thank you. And Bethany for hopping on with your expertise in social media too. And really, I don't know, I learned a lot today. It kind of made me feel a little less anxious, I think, about this whole change. And like I said, it's not just Twitter. It's just almost every place is going, the social media thing. They keep changing the rules on us. You know, I just finally was getting on top of some of this, you know, on that. So it's like you said, we just take one step at a time on that way. Just real quick before we go off the recording, next week, can we announce next week, Bethany? Did you ever hear for sure?
I don't know if we've got official confirmation.
Okay, we'll keep it a secret. No. We think we're going to talk about trademarking and writing. So if not, then you join us next week. We may have a surprise topic. So we'll work on that next week. And I just thank you guys all being with us today, and thank you for being with us live. Or if you're watching us on the replay, please join us any Tuesday or watch for the replay here on our YouTube channel, right, Rebecca? That's usually where they are. Yeah, on the YouTube channel, on that way. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye.